Prior to watching the movie Pixels, I didn't consider myself a scowling person. In fact, I would have said that the expression of a scowl was somewhat reserved for an older generation, a weapon so fierce that it was only to be equipped after a certain age limit is met, and wielded in the event that you needed to tell some kids to get off your lawn or start a sentence with the phrase "back in my day," and yet there I was, sat in the cinema scowling, because this movie fucking aged me. Pixels is an Adam Sandler-led vehicle that tells the story of an alien invasion and the heroes that battle to stave it off. The twist on the formula this time round is the invaders come in the form of homages to classic arcade games, after the alien race received a video message showing some kids playing said games and misconstrued it for a declaration of war. This is, by my own opinion, a terrible movie, and I may be biased because I'm inherently engrossed in the subculture it shamefully tries to cash in on. I mean, if you are watching this video, you are literally doing so on a channel originally started up to talk about video games. But even without that connection, I still think I would have hated this movie, and I have many reasons as to why. Now, I'll start off by saying, before things really kick off, this video will contain heavy spoilers, as a lot of criticism I have with the film comes at crucial plot points and the very end conclusion of the movie. So if you are seriously concerned about an Adam Sandler movie having its plot ruined for you, and haven't seen it yet, then by all means close the video now. But if not, then let's begin to dissect the logic for the hatred. Now, I'll admit, I knew going in I probably wasn't going to like this. I'd already booked a go before the horribly scathing reviews hit, which put me off, and I was more than a little sceptical when I found out this was being put out under Sandler's own production company, Happy Madison Productions, a studio whose greatest successes have been okay at best, and whose most miserable failures have been, well, just fucking abominations. That said, I tried to be slightly optimistic. Adam Sandler gets a lot of stick. People hate on him as being the worst thing to ever happen, and while some of that criticism is more than fair, the dude is actually competent when he wants to be, and he's capable of being in good movies. To my surprise, the opening scene even showed a lot of promise, as young kids are all gathered around the grand opening of an arcade. There's a sense of charm in the introduction to the movie. It captures a whimsical look at the 80s growing gaming subculture through the eyes of the children who lived it. The sets were nice, the clothes, colours and people evocative of the generation-defining time period. Even as someone born in the 90s, the fact that I still grew up with these games made this moment resonate with me. The children's eyes lighting up as they discovered the advances of this new interactive medium gave me a sense of warmth, a sense of familiarity, and even a sense of hope. I thought, maybe, this could be good. This doesn't seem like it's going to be that bad. I have never been so wrong. Cue a skip to the present day and the shitty tropes start pouring in. Over the course of our protagonist introductions, we now learn that our child hero gamers from the beginning of the movie are conspiracy nuts stuck living in the basements of their grandma's house fantasizing over sexual engagement with clusters of pixels made to resemble females. Or they're losers in demeaning dead-end tech jobs trying to cling to the memory of the glory days by arguing with children over what a gaming classic is. One is even a socially inept egotistical weirdo in prison who cringily refers to himself as the Fire Blaster. And the only one who abandoned all this video game nonsense as he grew up is now the President of the fucking United States of America. The movie claims to be a celebration of the video game subculture, but it presents us with characters who are all inept man-children with shitty lives, and this would almost be fine if the rest of the movie tried to deconstruct those stereotypes, as these unlikely heroes rise to the occasion of saving the day. Which, to be fair, it kind of does. The only problem is it never stops making fun of these caricatures of all that's wrong with the gaming populace. Now obviously, it's not the only thing you can throw this criticism at. A lot of media now taps into this whole geek chic phase this era seems to be going through, and programs like Big Bang Theory get a lot of stick from the internet community as being nerd blackface, in that the show constantly makes fun of nerd culture as the butt of its joke, but at least that show has the decency to commit to just making fun of them. Pixels, on the other hand, doesn't seem to know its own identity. At one point, it's making us laugh at these pathetic creatures who, quite frankly, would never fucking exist in real life, and then the next, it's making them into the badass heroes. But simultaneously, it continues to make fun of them by having them shout lines like, "I'm gonna die a virgin!" when they think they might lose their lives. I'd forgive it if it were even remotely funny, but the entire execution is as cringeworthy as nails on a chalkboard. Its idea of humour solely existing off the back of referencing things. Let me ask you a question. Do you remember Duck Hunt? Remember how that was a thing? Does it make you laugh to recall that Duck Hunt was a thing? If not, then you probably aren't gonna like this movie. The jokes are all simply acknowledgements of other mediums, as if somehow that counts as a punchline now. And I'm not even referring to the video game motif. Almost every joke does this. There's a scene early on where Sandler's character points at a girl with white hair and a guy with glasses and says, "Gandalf and Harry Potter in the same room?" As if we're supposed to respond with, "Oh, Gandalf has white hair and this lady has white hair. What a chuckle-worthy observation. And I see that fellow has glasses, much like the wizard Harry Potter from that famous series of books and films."
Sick reference though, bro.
Oh, thanks, bud.
Dude, your references are out of control. Everyone knows that.
Everything gets a nod or a name drop from General Zod to Max sodding Headroom. And you're left there thinking, why? Why is this movie's sole purpose to just obnoxiously fling recognisable shit at me? And the answer is obvious. It's because this is a film without substance. And the only thing it has to its credit is that it can leech off the success of other, better pieces of entertainment, repackaging them into some pound shop Super Smash Bros. Style mashup in the hopes that you'll see it just because you have fond memories of Tetris and Donkey Kong. The film doesn't even get things right half the time, using buzzwords and lingo where it wouldn't make sense. A crucial scene in the film sees the reveal that Peter Dinklage's character used a famous cheat code for super speed to beat Sandler's character at Pac-Man back during their childhood championship bout. He then uses it again to defeat the alien Pac-Man that attacks the city of New York. A fairly harmless plot point if such a cheat code fucking existed on the machine he was even playing on and not on one that was released 20 years later in 2001. Also, when he uses the cheat code for super speed the second time in the movie against the alien, the film fails to acknowledge that the cheat code makes Pac-Man faster. Why suddenly does it now speed him up as a ghost? Would this not make the battle harder? How in the blue hell did he even enter a cheat code for an arcade machine when he's using a car? That's like entering the unlock pin for your mobile phone into a microwave and expecting it to unlock your phone. Now it might seem like I'm nitpicking here, and I would be, but you have to remember this is a movie that proudly characters the moniker of gamer like a trophy, and yet it can't be bothered to research the games it's even about. I mean, come on. It's almost like pop cultural appropriation. It's the film equivalent of those t-shirts that just have geek written on them. A half-arsed pseudo-acknowledgement of a rapidly rising subculture created with minimal effort in an attempt to cash in on fans of the medium in much the same way as a Nirvana lunchbox, Elvis Presley branded bread, or a John Lennon car advert. The movie even has the audacity to be this shitty while insulting other people's work. There's a scene at about the halfway point where Sandler is sat with a child who is playing The Last of Us, and he slates it. "What is this?" he asks. "There's no rhyme or reason to this. There's no pattern. Where's the skill?" Now, I'm not even a big fan of The Last of Us, but I respect its critical acclaim. Pixels, however, just chooses to criticise the game, as if this movie were anything special. That's like Uwe Boll calling Spielberg a hack director. I don't even know why this scene exists. At the same time I was watching it, I got the sense I was supposed to identify with Sandler's character, as if I was meant to be on his side, like he was trying to appeal to my real gamer mentality. I was sat there thinking, is this for me? Is this the filmmaker trying to identify with me? Because I wanted to be sick in my mouth from the snobbery of it all. It's like the creators went on Facebook or Tumblr and found some of those shitty real gamer posts that the elitist minority share and took that as being gospel for anyone invested in games. It's not even the gaming niche the film horrendously stereotypes for shits and giggles as well. The British get a good go of it all too, as when the film momentarily travels over to England, we get a good 10 minutes where the jokes are all Buckingham Palace, tea and crumpets, pip pip, what? None of it's offensive, of course, just grating and annoying. The only real offensive bit comes at the film's conclusion. You know how I mentioned one of the characters fantasizes about a female video game avatar? Well, she makes an appearance, and without any logic behind it, they immediately begin making out. When all of the aliens are defeated, she then dies, leaving him heartbroken without his walking pair of tits. It doesn't leave it at that though. A small point of the film is whenever the humans win a fight, they get a trophy in the form of an old video game character. At one point they get Qbert, who follows them round being the cute side character trope for the film's remainder. Until at the very end of the movie, this trophy turns, for no given reason whatsoever, into the hot dialogue-free sexy lady the character originally fell for. He's okay with this and proceeds to make out with his new version of her all the same, and in a small 1 year later sequence, we see they've settled down and had children. He literally wins this woman, who he then bangs as a trophy. This film took the term trophy wife completely seriously. The character doesn't even get to say a sentence. Holy shit. If you think for a moment I'm overreacting, swap this character out with a black dude and see how comfortable you are with this notion of our hero winning a person. Now, after that cynical venom-filled rant, I will say this. It's not as bad as people are making out to be. Yes, I realise I have just absolutely hammered home how awful the film is, so such a statement may seem hypocritical. But what I want you to understand now is that there is some good to be taken from this movie. It's minimal, but there are enjoyable aspects. The stylized CG, for example, I'd argue is really nicely done. And if you can just turn your brain off and enjoy the movie, the battles have a decent bit of fun spectacle to them. I still hate the movie, but I want to stress that people have been exaggerating just how low its standard is. I've heard people call it the worst movie of all time. Yeah, no. I've heard some say it's Adam Sandler's worst movie. It ain't even that. Everybody online seems to be in this mentality that there's absolutely nothing good about this movie, that it's impossible to enjoy. But when I went to the cinemas, out of the 7 people I went with, only 2 of us, including myself, didn't like it. The cinema I was in was also very audible in their approval, being that they were laughing along all the way through. Do I recommend you go see it? Of course not, because in my personal opinion, it's beyond sewage. They took a fun short film made with heart and butchered it into an overproduced piece of schlock that isn't even really about anything. There are plenty of films that use video game and geek culture motifs to tell a story. Scott Pilgrim is about relationships. Wreck-It Ralph, a midlife crisis. Hell, King of Kong isn't even fiction and is about family and civilization. This movie takes the video game motif and then stops right there, meaning there is no reason for it to even exist since it doesn't fill any gap that far superior movies aren't already filling. Just go see one of those instead. But, to its credit, this is probably the most efforts that Sandler and friends have ever put into what equates to another quick cash grab, and honestly, you might, maybe, possibly, even enjoy it. Though I'll reiterate that I personally equate this film to cinematic dog shite, I wouldn't actually blame someone if they said they liked it as a whole for those moments where, it wasn't just downright awful and was just a stupid bit of fun. But hey, we can't end this on anything slightly positive and misconstrue my personal feelings in this review, so all in all, fuck this movie.